Okay, well, Amanda, how are you?
Hi. It's been ages.
It's been so long since we've seen each other and talked to each other, which is all untrue. Yep. We had our girls' trip. Ooh.
Oh, that's so fun we did that together.
I know, that was great. I'm in the process of editing those, so that's fun. And I just say, I texted you this, but I say a few things in the bonus episode where I made myself laugh, and that kind of gives you the ick, but I really was extra silly, and I think that that's so fun.
Yeah. No, there were so many, there were a few times where we were just silly, and it was like, life-giving.
It was great. Yeah. So we are back. We are safe. I do have some important, I have a list of 3 things I need to tell you about my drive back and in things in relation to Savannah, Georgia. Yep. Savannah, Georgia. But today's episode.
Well, should we just do updates? Because I also have 3 things that I need to update you on.
Okay,
before
great.
Today's up.
Let's do this. Let's introduce the podcast. Let's introduce the podcast. And then after we do that, we will do our updates. And then we'll get into our main episode today, which is entitled, I don't actually know the title yet, but it's all about, how would you describe it? This is your world.
I have a working title. I don't know if you like it or not.
Okay.
It's like, Talk Fermentation To Me.
That's great. I'm going to, listeners, if you hear a pencil writing, that's what it is. Great. I love that. Okay, well, welcome. I'm not mad about it. I'm Amy.
I'm Amanda.
And we're not mad about it. Great. We're back to off sync, which I think makes me feel more secure.
Yeah.
In the world.
I also have a line, I'll probably use it next time, that I'm just gonna shock you with.
Okay.
When we do our intro. So, TBD.
Oh, great. Okay. I love a good surprise. We had a single teacher who works too hard, and her best friend's got 4 kids in the yard. Yeah, the mama loves her curds and whey, and her best friend just loves Tanqueray. And oh, yeah, I'm not mad about it. And I'm not mad about it. Okay, so you have updates. Let's hear them.
Yeah, we can go back and forth.
Okay, great.
First of all, this is going to throw it back to the music app.
Okay.
And hopefully everyone already consumed it.
Yeah, you really should have. It's awkward if you didn't.
Sure, especially because, so I texted infamous brother Sean.
Yes.
The super cutie.
Uh-huh.
He said it made him all blushy.
Oh, really? Okay, I was like...
That's not even the update, but...
No, I know. Of course not. But you told me that you were going to text Brother Sean to tell him about an episode, and I was like, oh no, I could not remember. Is that the one where I say that I agree? Oh, no. Oh, come on. I was like, I think I'm safe. I think it's the TV one that I say that. So then I was able to sleep well the last however many nights.
Yeah,
okay, so he did hear me say that. That's tough. And I know he's, obviously,
he's
a father.
With 4 children.
Yes, and he and his wife are very happy.
They are.
But it is uncomfortable. That's tough for me to hear. Okay, so what do you think?
Well, he had a story about the Toby Keith concert, which he didn't even remember me being at. Okay. # little sister Ashley Simpson living in your shadows. Oh. Literally, he was like, wait, you were there? Yes! My very first concert. I do think I remember it. But
that's so funny.
So I told the story that my parents made us leave early because everyone was smoking weed. So that's when I clocked at 12 years old. Yeah. He brought up the fact that indeed they were, because Toby Keith brought out, as he called it, Mr. 420 himself, Willie Nelson, onto the stage. And then they both lit up and then sang a song about smoking joints together. And I guess that's when my parents said enough is enough. And
we got to get out of here.
But I just have no recollection of that But yeah, so apparently I also saw Willie Nelson in concert.
Okay. I have a bone to pick with Willie Nelson. Not only...
Pick it, girl.
Yes. Not only do I give 2 thumbs down for the weed situation. That's just not for me. No para mí, as I tell my students in Espanol. But when you... And we love Spotify. Spotify...
We do.
Pay for us to do stuff. But... I have a little bit of a bone to pick with both Willie Nelson and Spotify because there are a few bands that I will look up, and you know how it creates the "this is so-and-so" band, or artist on Spotify to kind of introduce you to the artist. Well, on the Avett Brothers one, the top song is a song with them and Willie Nelson.
Oh.
And I'm just like, that is a very special, its own thing. Like, that's not quintessential Avett Brothers. Is it because they don't think... They think you need to ease in with the big person? I don't know, but I feel like Willie Nelson has been on a couple of the first tracks of This Is Another Band. That's not him. And I just think, does he have a deal with Spotify? Conspiracy. We should have a conspiracy theory episode.
I don't
if we want to divide.
Oh,
great. Okay, yeah. Okay, I was like, we're going to divide all our listeners, but you're like, no, we'll in fact divide us. Okay.
Right, we will implode on one another.
I love that. But, okay, so overall thought, so he had a different memory that it unlocked for him. One, that you were alive at all in your childhood.
Sure,
and
two,
that you were at the concert. And then, okay, did he give any other comments about the podcast that's worth sharing or noting? Or
well, he seemed to disagree that girls were swooning over him to me at camp, and he was like, it probably was just this, and he named this person, which is accurate. But also I'm like, no, and truly I was so proud of myself. Name recognition. But I was like, boom, 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 boom. I was like 5 different girls right off the bat. I can tell you right now. I remember them, like, specifically, like, talking to me at camp, writing me a note, whatever. So,
wow.
So he's trying to rewrite history, but he doesn't have a podcast, so
that's true. And it's okay when he listed a specific person, he was right about the person. That gave him a bit more credibility. But my first thought is he disagrees with the memory that you had with a girl camper in isolation. Of like, that sounds like little brother.
I think it's a humble
that sounds like my little brother Sean or something, or just like a dynamic that I'm like, come on, man, like you can't disagree with that. It didn't happen for you, Yeah. But that makes more sense. It was a specific person he named, and he was correct about the person. But you're like, nah. Yes.
And he did say it was cool to hear our voices on a podcast, just in general.
Oh,
so, but yeah,
well, that's fun.
Strong reviews.
Okay, well, that's great to hear.
Do you want to hit me with an update?
I do. I have I have a list of things that are all related to either my trip back from Savannah or something within Savannah. The bullet points, here are the bullet points. I'm just going to read what the titles of each bullet point is, and then I can go pretty rapid fire if I need to, but just, it says my drive in all caps, and then it says dog that needs glasses, Grenade Man, and Danger in Savannah. And Grenade Man and Danger in Savannah are both not related, actually.
Okay, because, I was thinking Grenade Man, that must be the Danger in Savannah.
Sure,
I also, too, I have Danger Story ? On my notepad, because I've been so intrigued to find out.
I believe in myself. I think I can go pretty quick with these 3 and then end on the Danger if you want. I think because they're more just passing. There's not, unless you feel like you need to jump in. So I'll try and then we'll see. Great. So I'm driving home. It is a 9-hour drive. But it took me 12 hours to get home. So that was tough. So that's happening. But on the drive, it gave me a lot more time to really think, process, and to pay attention to more vehicles that were on the road because we had a lot of time together. We were kind of stopped and going. So the dog that needs glasses, I am telling you that I'm in a car, obviously. We're in traffic. We're moving very slowly, and there's this dog that's sticking his little nose, I almost said snout. I don't know anything about animals. He's sticking his little nose out of the window, and he's looking, and he's doing this. And the listener can't see me, but I just squinted several times toward
in different ways.
Amanda, and I just thought, oh, well, he needs glasses, you know. So then I'm picturing him with little dog glasses, and that's all. I was blown away by that. So he needs glasses. Okay, see how fast I can go.
Did you like him better at the thought of him wearing glasses?
I did, because I pictured him in a little professor suit.
Sure.
And I actually pictured him as one of the characters in the musical, the theatrical version, like on movies of Wicked, because there are animals that talk in that.
Okay.
So anyway, I thought he would be a nice addition, but he was really struggling to see, and he was doing this, and I was going, again, I don't really notice that kind of stuff anyway.
Thank goodness he wasn't driving. Ugh.
Oh. This is really hard. I have other animals and dog stories, but not from this trip. If we get to it, we get to it. But I'm going to stay on my path. Grenade Man. So,
yes,
we're in stop-and-go traffic. And you know how some female drivers, too. But some...
Females be like...
Right, but you know how some male drivers are, like, angry and kind of loco. So we can't go anywhere. There's nothing we can do. And I guess I left a touch too much space before the next baby tiny little bit of moving forward. And this big truck with a man in it, a guy, like whipped around me and got in front of me. And then we moved, the teensiest bit more forward, so he was no closer to his destination. Oh, that's not true. Technically, he was a car length closer to his destination. And he mimed unclicking a grenade and throwing it back behind him at moi. That's French for me.
What?
And I went, stop it. I was like, and my head turned to the side like, one of my sweet nieces is one, and she goes, and again, listener, you can't see that, but her head just like will look at you and then all of a sudden like cocked to the side like, huh? So I went, huh? Okay, so that's Grenade Man. Again, I'm going pretty quick, but I don't know if you need to process any of these. But I thought that was a touch too far. No?
Yeah. What did you feel like unsafe in your car after that, or like what?
I turned into Buzz Lightyear in Toy Story 1 when he's like, "You sad, strange little man." Like I did not in that moment. Oddly enough, I did not feel threatened. I just thought, oh, you're really upset. Like, that's interesting to me. I was more just fascinated that he was that angry that he mimed that. So then I kind of began to laugh just a little bit. Now, I had been on the road for some time, and I'm not trying to antagonize nobody, But at the same time, that is a hissy fit level that I'm like, you're talking to an elementary school teacher, all right? Like, had we been chatting, I really don't think I would have been like, hey! I think I would have been like, no, I don't like that one bit. No, sir. Like, I truly turned into actually more of a teacher, more than Buzz Lightyear. And I just thought, well, that's not how we express what we're feeling.
Sure. Okay, quick follow-up.
Great.
Do you envision yourself now doing that move? Can you see yourself in the future? Like, adapting? Yes! Because I feel like I can see you in, like, the perfect comedic timing, like, landing that so perfectly.
That's a good follow-up question, and the answer is, I give it a try. The only regret I have is that I didn't go, like, make a fun sound and be like, ha-ha, and then he'd laugh at me, and then he'd be like, wow, she's beautiful. And I'm like, okay, I'm not even wearing makeup.
Yeah.
So riddle me that. And then we have like a meet cute on the road, and he's like, surprised I keep the Sabbath. That would be that would be the ultimate do-over, but a lot would have to go right on his part. And I feel like he doesn't want to do-over. Yeah. He's just misunderstood, like the Beast at the beginning of Beauty and the Beast.
Sure. I can see that.
My gut tells me he was just mean.
Yeah, maybe. But I feel like we could take his power away from him by turning it into our own power move in a hilarious way. Yeah. Anyways,
I think so too. And again, just the idea of like...
Yes.
But he wasn't even doing it in a fun way. He was just like... And the idea of doing that sincerely
Sure.
That's nuts.
That is absolutely nuts. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And again, that's why I went to, no, sir. No, we don't do that. I don't care for that one bit. Or that does not work on me. You know, I do that to my kindergartners.
I like that.
And, okay, my last bullet point is danger in Savannah. Now, this is bleaker for sure.
Yeah, color me intrigued. I've been sitting on this, waiting to hear this for...
Yeah, listeners, this was
almost a week now.
Yeah, this was a hashtag save it for the pod moment. And so I told her, hey, something I want to tell you, but maybe I should save it for the podcast. She was like, tell me when we next record. So I said, okay. So the NBA finals were on Thursday evening of us staying there. It was game 6. And we watched that. We watched the Pacers go on to victory. Actually, I watched the Pacers go on to victory.
We is very lightly,
yeah.
Which will tie into my follow-up story after.
Oh, perfect. And so you went to sleep, as you should have, because we were leaving the next morning. And I was like, it's the tail end of the fourth quarter. They were up by a lot. So I was like, I'm just going to watch the Pacers win. Cool. Well, because I was on live direct TV or whatever at the Airbnb/VRBO, just regular nightly news, like local news, came on after the game, you know? And so that they do that. And again, I'm in Savannah and it's Savannah news. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. I'm like, oh, it's because I'm here. And they're like, yeah, we just had 2 shootings tonight.
Oh.
Again, this is somber. It's terrible. But 2 different shootings occurred on literally blocks away from where you were slumbering, where we were. Obviously, I just like said a prayer of protection and you know, gratefulness and thankfulness because that but we literally had walked on those streets. So I have some screenshots that I'll send you later, and they are the streets. They are the streets that the shootings were in relation to where we were, which were truly a few blocks away. So you were just asleep and like sleeping well, and obviously you hate it for their families and all of that. It's very scary and awful. But yeah, I just was like, you know, Amanda doesn't need to know that this happened right now.
Yeah.
You know, let's let her sleep. And when my plan was when you're at home safe with with husband Sean and all of your babies, I was going to reveal to you that you were in fact actually in a lot of danger. Yeah, that's awful. But yeah. Okay. So that's a bummer to end on there, but that's my list.
I'll bring it up. You know,
bring us back.
I went to bed because I did indeed give myself full-on sun poisoning.
Yeah, okay.
So, because I felt very unwell Thursday night, but we didn't have a thermometer, and I was like, I think I have a fever.
Oh, yeah.
I really don't feel good. And then I slept, in air quotes. I was so restless but exhausted, which turns out is indeed very typical of sun poisoning, where it's like, you're exhausted but restless. And I was like, those are the words for the experience I had.
Oh, no.
So when I left at 6 a.m. so I could get home to husband Sean and the babes at a decent time, like 9:30 in the morning, I felt a little better, and I thought, okay, we're going to do this. And then about an hour into the drive, I was like, ugh, everything hurts. My skin is literally radiating, and I was so tired. So I got a coffee and some munchies, and I rallied, and I got home, and I was just a shell of a human, absolutely helpless to anything in our house. And then I took my temperature, and I was at 102. Yeah, so if I had to guess what I was the night before, because that was like, oh, I feel better, and I was like, oh, I'm at 102. So my guess is I was at like 103 or higher.
You were in
Thursday
danger
night.
in more ways than one.
And so my legs were swollen and shiny. Like, I didn't have any dimension to my legs. Like, you know, I can rub my hands on like the top of my legs, and like I can feel a little bit of a quadricep muscle, you know, that sort of thing. No, It was just like one shiny, stiff tube of 2 legs. And
Shiny, stiff tube is tough to hear.
My muscles hurt. My joints hurt. Like, I literally felt like we had just run a marathon, or like I had just like squatted double my body weight, and we had not indeed done that.
No, we don't do that on vacay.
No, and yeah, it was bad. And then we had to go to an engagement that we had to go to, and we were already predestined to go. Mm-hmm. And so I slept for like an hour, and I did some stuff at home. And I will say, miraculously, my legs did not blister, because I did all this, basically anything that I could think of, like homeopathically at home, that I could do to take care of them, I did. But I also had sunburn on my abdomen and one shoulder. But they didn't hurt because my legs hurt so badly that I didn't treat them until like 3 days later, when my legs calmed down. I was like, oh, my abdomen's hurting, and oh, my shoulder's bright red and it hurts. Guess what? Those blistered really bad. I still have some lingering blisters. So I'm like, it is truly a miracle, because both of my legs should be one massive blister, and now they're just tan.
Okay, so after
Which
all
is
that,
wild.
You're like, I look so good. I'm like, Amanda, no.
I know. It's crazy. My skin's a little dry and itchy, but it's not like, but it's, but truly, and okay, so I was thinking about it. I was like, we were in the water for the last like 45 minutes, and then we spent some time under the umbrella. So I'm like, we were there for 3 hours, so maybe my legs were in the sun for a little over 2 hours, and that is wild that much damage.
Dude.
It was bad, guys. Put sunscreen on.
Yeah,
even if you're not crazy about sunscreen like I am, if you're going to go to the beach once or twice a year, just like put it on.
Do the mineral one, not the chemical one if you're stressed. But
because it does make a difference. Yeah,
or just don't go out there as long. But you want to be able to just enjoy the beach.
That's the thing. We weren't out there from like 8 to 5. We were out there for 3 hours.
I know, but y'all, beach sun is different than regular sun somehow.
I can attest. Yeah,
and we're in the water too, and I feel like that is just like. Yeah.
So we did not record fun reels because I was in a lot of pain, but I also do feel justified because I'm like, oh, I had a raging fever. That checks out.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's my update.
That's great. I mean, it's sad and it's tough to hear, but I'm glad that you're doing better with all of that.
Yeah. I felt really guilty too, because then it was like I came home, but I was like, I'm not even home.
Right, and your husband trying to watch the children.
Literally doing everything pretty much. And then I'm like, don't touch me. Don't, like, kids don't hug my legs, which is their height, It was rough. I will say by Saturday evening, it had really gotten a lot better. And then Sunday and onward, and then I'm just like aloe and putting myself... Just doing everything at home possible. To take care of them. So I'm sorry, legs. So there we go.
That sounds a little bit like, a story from when someone's at war and they're like, I can't feel my leg. That's because she ain't got any leg. That's kind of what it feels like. So I'm glad that your legs are okay. And I think we already said our PSA about sunscreen. So I feel good about that.
Yeah.
To shift gears a bit, I am drinking in your honor today some kombucha.
Oh, hey, yo.
And that is because today on the pod, we are allowing Amanda to have her time in the sun, her spotlight, to tell us...
How dare you bring up the sun like that?
Her time in the shade. She's got it made in the shade.
Hey, yo.
Yes. To tell us a bit about fermentation. Something about something called whey. Curds are involved, I think. These are all things that I don't have a ton of I do have my questions, but I don't have a ton of them. My opening question is, what is a curd? What is whey? W-H-E-Y.
Yes.
But to really start, I want you to be able to geek out and live your life. But are you familiar with the children's nursery rhyme? Little Miss something?
Miss Muffet. Yeah. Little Miss Muffet sat on her tuffet, eating her curds and whey.
Okay.
And along came a spider who sat down beside her and scared Miss Muffet away. I'm not sure what that last line is.
You trailed off, but it sounds right. I don't feel confident I've ever heard that, but my sister famously mentioned always in the pod, not meaning to.
We need her, though.
We need her. Yes,
I
told her.
Us.
She doesn't need us.
Yeah.
I texted her today and was like, can we go for a walk in 90-degree weather? In all caps. And she was like, yes, come over. And so we did. And we had a great time. But I chatted with her about today's topic. And I was like, I don't know anything about what Amanda loves. Not do you have anything to ask? But she was like, oh. And so she perfectly also recited. You seemed unsure, but it sounded right. She recited that. And she said she, taught kindergarten for years and years. She was, teacher of the year before. No one is shocked. And she would always read that with her kids, with her kindergartners, and would ask them, like, what do you think curds and whey means? And she was like, yeah, we just never knew. And then that was all. So, Amanda, take it away. What is curds and whey? What does that mean? And it was apparently a thing a long time ago when it appears that nursery rhyme was written.
Yeah. So to solve the mystery in our theme song.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Curds and whey. I ferment what is called milk kefir.
Okay.
And just like in cottage cheese is curds and whey. The curds are the clumps, and the whey is the liquid part that you usually stir back in. So whey is just, it's like the sugar byproduct after fermentation has happened, because it even predates this nursery rhyme. It's been happening since the beginning of time, fermentation. So it's a way to preserve stuff. And, refrigeration did not exist till not even 100 years ago, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So specifically why I thought, that's cool to put it in the song is, so it's called kefir, and it's milk, and then there's these little grains, and they are tiny, alive little bacterias and probiotics, and they're hungry, and they like to eat. And they eat sugar, and there is sugar in milk called lactose. And so these little colonies of bacteria.
I'm like, stuff. Lactose is sugar?
It is. It's a milk sugar.
I don't know anything.
Sure.
Okay.
So this ferments for 24 hours, and it makes like a thick, drinkable yogurt.
Okay.
And it has loads of probiotics, and it's so good for your gut, and it has protein, and most people who can't have lactose can have this, what's called kefir, because technically after 24 hours, it doesn't even have the same properties as a dairy product anymore, which is crazy because it is milk. And husband
That's a
Sean,
chemical change, right?
It absolutely is a chemical change.
I remember that from science.
It's a biochemical process.
I know about that because of high school, but I remember that, but they didn't talk about it in real context. They were just like, you might need to know this one day, JK LOL.
Probably won't. Yeah.
And then now, 15 years later.
Yeah, so husband Sean, myself, and the sweet baby Penny, we drink it every morning with some frozen fruit and a scoop of protein powder to sweeten it up a little bit, because it is, they call it like effervescent. It is tangy. But
is it the same? Is it a similar tang to like a Greek yogurt?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. But so it's in thinner, that family.
So it's drinkable, yes. So, so to just take it back to the basics, fermentation is a biochemical process that breaks down complex organic compounds into simpler compounds for our bodies to process, basically with the help of microorganisms like yeast and bacteria. So kombucha is black tea that is fermented, and the bacteria and the yeast in the mother culture called a SCOBY eats the sugar from the sweetened black tea, and these little bugs burp up bubbles.
That's
hence carbonation. Well,
they burp up bubbles, and then we burp.
It's carbon dioxide. It's just carbon dioxide. So that's the byproduct of these live organisms eating sugar, is they produce carbon dioxide, which is bubbles. Okay. Which is also what makes bread rise. Bread is just millions of micro air bubbles.
Okay.
So,
this is okay. Can I process a little bit? So,
you're like, I'm never going to touch kombucha again.
I'm drinking it now, and I'm like, bleh. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
No,
I can taste the box.
The fact that lactose is sugar is, that's mind-blowing. But also, I feel like when I hear the microorganisms and that, it feels a little bit science fiction to me, which I'm into, as you know, and you're don't really care about it as much, perhaps. But, like, in Star Wars films, I feel like all of the terrible, super rich people on the rich planets will have, like, a cocktail, and there'll be, like, a little creature inside, and then it's kind of like you know how there's a trope in movies where they give the bad guys like a Google phone, or they do something to the, you know what I'm talking about? There's some kind of like thing that you can go, oh, I knew he's a bad guy because of blah blah blah, and I don't even know if that's true. I feel like all the bad guys in the Star Wars universe and those kind of movies will have like the live little creature that's inside the drink. Anyway, that's where my brain goes when I think of fermented drinks like that, which is, that's crazy for my brain to do that, but that's where my brain goes. Mm-hmm. Sure. But it's really good, and when I tried, now that I have tried different things that are fermented, and you mentioned like kimchi and different, is that how you say it? Yeah, different things like that. It's so lovely, especially to cook with when you have like these different, like either, you know, the acid, fat, salt, heat, you know, when you have this like this element, like you said, that tang, it's so helpful to have like a bit of a knowledge to that I don't have at all. You know what I mean? To like balance out your meal a little bit. And then you're talking about it literally also balances like your gut and like your body. Yes. That's wild. Totally.
Yeah. And really sour, anything sour, like naturally sour, like you're saying, like the tang of the kimchi or the sauerkraut or sour of an apple cider vinegar or lime or lemon. It, like, our body actually needs it, and it helps our body's reaction to, you know, you eat something, you eat anything, your blood sugar is going to either stay the same, rev up slowly, or just skyrocket and then plummet. Those are pretty much the reactions to anything you have. So anything that, you know, has a sugar in it will make it go up unless there are other elements like protein or also sour. There's a lot of research that's been coming out that it's like, if you know you're going to have a super carb heavy meal, like a pasta say, if you have just 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar before your meal, like they've shown the numbers like on glucose readings, and it is like pasta with no preference, you know, no preparation, and you're like, you skyrocket and then you plummet. And then it's like when you have just that sour element, your blood pressure just slowly does like a safe climb and then just levels back out. And it's just like, so your body actually needs sour. And then all of these fermented foods also have these different levels of probiotics. And so our body will not produce nor maintain its own level of probiotics on its own. Okay. So, I taught... So
it kind of has to be added to your body.
It does. It absolutely does. Okay. So I taught a fermented class to a bunch of high schoolers at our homeschool co-op this spring semester. So I actually dove even deeper into some of these things. And one of the things that I learned, which I have been doing some of this stuff for like 4 or 5 years, I always assumed when you eat fermented things, each fermented thing has its own line, say a fashion line, if you will, for your brain.
Thank you for my brain.
And you're like, oh, I just put in the kimchi line and now forever I have kimchi on the rack. No. Literally, one of the articles I read was like, to imagine these like microorganisms and these probiotics as like cheerleaders, your best friend and your personal trainer. They pass through your gut and they're like, whoa, you're doing so great. Or they'll stay and they'll encourage you to work harder on a certain area, but they don't, then they leave. They don't stay. They don't build a community. Like what you have is what you have. And all like everything we take in just encourages what's already there to grow. But if you don't do that, then they don't grow, and then eventually you'll lose them, or you take things that can totally wipe them out, and then if you never add them back in, they will never grow. So it's just like you need a variety of fermented things, which I would love to cover for everyone. Some common fermented foods, because I think a lot of people are like, bah! But there's so many things that are actually fermented that you may not realize.
That was going to be one of my questions is, if someone is new to this world, they're learning about it, how could you dip your toe into this world to feel it out, to see its benefits, and or not, or whatever, you know, like how could someone completely new to the fermentation world? They're probably not completely new. They probably have elements of this that they're like, oh, but how do you get started with something like this?
Cheese. You ever heard of it?
I have, yeah.
Cheese
it's so
fermented.
Wonderful. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Cheese, like pretty much every strain of cheese outside of American cheese is fermented. Some are fermented for just like 10 to 15 days. Some are fermented for like 9 months, like Parmesan and things like that. But literally, cheese is a fermented food. Olives, also fermented, usually in the brine that they're in. Beer and wine are also fermented foods.
Okay.
We mentioned it. Yogurt. A lot of people are having yogurt. Yogurt is literally just milk with added cultures into it, and those cultures sit in a warm environment and eat the milk sugar from the yogurt. And then similarly, when you open a yogurt, there's like clear liquid and you need to stir it in. That's called whey. So that's just the byproduct.
I learned that earlier. I drew a picture. I had little circles as the curds and then like a line to show a horizon line like it's in water. And then I labeled them.
I like that.
In case I need a gold star. Now with yogurt, you have like regular yogurt and then you have like Greek yogurt and you have non-fat.
So regular yogurt and Greek yogurt are the same. Greek yogurt, just the whey is strained out. Because I make my own yogurt. Humble brag.
That was very cool for you to mention. Okay.
Thank you. And truly, the only difference between yogurt and Greek yogurt is that then the yogurt
price point, but go on.
So true. Literally, you just strain the regular yogurt. Like, I just put it in, like, a coffee filter, and, like, my hands are forming, like, a cup shape strainer, and you put a coffee filter in it, and then you just put the regular yogurt in there, and then you let it kind of just, like, hang above the pot, and the whey will drip down. Because the whey has the highest sugar content, and then the yogurt part, the less whey there is, the more protein there is, because you're getting, how do I put it? Like, you're squeezing a sponge out, and then for them to fill a container, you know, they still have to fill it to the same weight. So you're getting more product. You're getting less whey, and you're getting
more curd, right?
Yeah, it's like you're getting more of the meat. I don't know how else to say it. Like you're getting more of the protein,
like more of the substance, I guess.
Than a liquidy product, which if you put Greek yogurt next to regular yogurt, like regular yogurt, you can put a spoon in and it kind of like drizzles down the spoon. But if you get Greek yogurt, it's like a solid scoop, and then you have the shape of a scoop on a spoon.
Well, that makes sense too, because you feel more like full.
Yes, so they're
with
the same
Greek
product,
yogurt
but
as well.
Just different. Yeah, so the Greek yogurt doesn't have the whey, and then of course, like non-fat versus full fat is just the type of milk you would use.
Okay.
So
sure,
a full fat is using a 4% or higher. There's a 10% yogurt that we buy from our son, little Henny Penny, because he's a baby, and they use heavy cream, so it's 10% milk fat, and it is like a decadent dessert.
I was going to say, it sounds like really lavish. Yeah.
It's so good, but when you're a little baby, I'm like, have that fat and chunk you up.
That's right.
Yeah, so those are the differences there. And then, of course, just like, you know, you got to look at the ingredients. There's a lot of hidden sugar in yogurt. If you've ever just tasted plain Greek yogurt, you might recoil, but you either get used to the flavor, or you can sweeten it at home with honey or maple syrup or stevia or, you know, whatever. Fruit puree, what have you.
That is so interesting. Okay, because I love a good simple breakfast. If I lived in Paris, if my life made sense, then I would have a croissant, a little bit of like Greek yogurt with a few fruit or something on top, and like a teeny tiny bit of honey, and an espresso, you know, or a latte. That would be my breakfast in Paris. I don't live there. So what I do instead is plain Greek yogurt. And then I'll do, you know, whatever fresh fruit I have. And then a bit of honey and then normally a bit of granola on top of that. But, like, I'm not like, I would never order or, you know, buy, like, Greek yogurt that has a flavor anymore. I just am to the point now that I'm like, well, if that's one little sugar that I can cut, you know what I mean? Like an added flavoring or something. And typically it's flavoring versus, like, just sugar. You know what I mean? I'm like, I feel like that's a step in the right direction. And so I'm like, okay, just to feel a bit more comfortable with it. And then it's still not wrong or bad to like have the pre-sweetened, you know, something or flavored things. But I just was like, I kind of want to train my body to get to that. And now, and I'm already so not sweetsy anyway, you know?
Yeah,
so now when I eat it, I'm like, if it is already sweetened, I'm like, woo, this is like a fancy, you know, it feels like a little cocktail in the morning.
I'll even cut it. Like if I buy a vanilla flavored like tub, I'll buy a plain and then we'll do half vanilla, half plain. But yeah, we literally had Greek yogurt with granola and blackberries for breakfast this morning. So, and the kids love it, and I'm always like, yes, like they'll have yogurt for lunch. They get to add some chocolate chips to theirs, which is very exciting.
Absolutely.
But that's always like a good, easy lunch, or like we're about to head out the door, and I'm like, all right, let's have some yogurt before we go, try to fill up our belly so you aren't asking for snacks 1,000 times a day. So yogurt, a fermented food that probably a lot of people have often, but may or may not have realized it. Same thing with sour cream and cottage cheese.
Yeah, sure.
Also, fermented dairy products, and the only real difference is the strain of bacteria and probiotics creates different products. So, like in my fermented class that I taught at our co-op, we made sour cream. And they were able to make it in class, which is super cool. Use just heavy cream and lemon juice if you guys want to do it at home.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you... So you said just do it with that, but what do you mean? So like I have heavy cream and I have...
Yeah, I think it's a cup of cream and 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and then you stir it up, and like within 10 minutes it's already starting to thicken, and then you just put it in the fridge, and like 24 hours later it's like super thick sour cream. Super easy. Yeah.
It's funny to me that like I love cooking so much.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about any of this. But again, to your point, like, I am eating foods that are fermented already. And I know, like, little pieces of what you're telling me, but, like, not at all the full picture. Yeah. So that's so interesting to me.
I will say one thing I figured out about myself is that, like, I enjoy the challenge of, like, oh, that was really yummy. I bet I could do that at home. Like, I bet I can figure out how to do that. So it's like, if I... cannot buy it, I'm like, I love that. So like make my own mayo, which is not fermented, but I make my own mayo, which then means I make my own Chick-fil-A sauce, which means I make my own Caesar dressing and my own ranch and my own yum yum sauce. Like it just like is always like a cascade of where it's like, well, if I can do that, then I can do that. So same thing with the sour cream. That's how I figured that one out. Apple cider vinegar. Also, you can make that at home. I made those with my high schoolers. Buttermilk, of course, is also fermented.
Ooh, that one's tough.
Cheese. Cottage cheese, pickles, depending. True pickles are actually fermented. Now, most of the pickles you're getting off the shelf are not. They're made with vinegar, and then they, like, dye them yellow, which I don't understand why. But if it's in the refrigerated section, then it is true fermented pickles.
Okay, so if it's cold, it's cold when you get it, not...
Yeah.
Don't get it off the shelf and then put it in your fridge, all right? Because that's going to mess up the whole control group. Yeah. Okay.
Cold section at the fridge. Or at the store. Ugh. The cold section at the store. You know what I mean?
I just had flashbacks from our tortilla incident that we've already discussed on our bonus episode.
Yeah, here's a crazy one, which doesn't super apply to us, but salami is a fermented meat.
Okay, so what is the difference between fermented and something that's cured? Are you familiar with that? Is cured just within the meats world? You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot of meats are cured. Salami is different somehow. Once again, it doesn't super apply to us because we don't eat pork, so there aren't really many salami options. But it was one of those things I learned where I was like, oh, interesting. And then,
I wonder if... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Well, okay, you know how... Obviously, we don't. I almost said, do you know how we don't eat pork? You're like, I just said that, our entire lives,
my whole life,
I just watched a recipe from Ina Garten, and it was like all these like weeknight dinner kind of things. It was a compilation that Food Network did on YouTube, and so I watched that. Great. One of them was like a pancetta pasta situation. So I was like, okay, obviously we wouldn't use the pancetta, but I wonder if pancetta is in the same salami family, and then that made me think, could I? Is there a way to cure, like, because you know the uncured, quote unquote, that's uncured though. What does that mean? Yeah. The turkey bacon, like the good thick turkey bacon. You know what I mean? Like, do butchers have that?
I don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
There's like pre-cooked bacon that's like sold on the shelf. Like not
I don't like that.
And the exactly.
Oh, like, but it's like dried or something.
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, sorry. That was just a random, like, I saw that today, so I was like, and obviously I could just buy the pack of the the good, more expensive, thick, lovely turkey bacon that has the fat and stuff that's in it to make it a bit more like closer to what I imagine a pancetta tasting like. But I just wondered if meats were cured in the same way, or is that more like just salt and it's like left out?
I think
the
that's
elements.
What curing is, but I'm not.
Okay, cool.
I'm not a meats girly. You know what I mean?
I know you're not. Okay, cool.
And then there's some beverages, like we discussed. Kombucha is either fermented black tea or fermented green tea. Typically, it's black tea, which is what I make at home. The kefir, like I discussed. Oh, here's another one: miso. You know, the Asian tea. Miso is actually just fermented soybean.
Oh.
And that's what makes the delicious flavor of miso soup. So also good for you. And then, of course, sourdough bread. Shout out how it all started for me. The origin story, you know?
Yeah.
And there is more, you know, any vegetable you can ferment. You can ferment carrot sticks, okra, green beans, cabbage. Sauerkraut is fermented cabbage. Kimchi is fermented cabbage, collards, carrots, and like garlic and onion, I think, and a bunch of seasonings.
So like onion marmalade, is that fermented, or is that just like?
I'm familiar with that. I don't even.
Oh, really?
The first words I'm hearing, I've never heard those words.
Oh, okay. Together. So sister-in-law.
Sharon.
Sister-in-law Sharon. I was trying to figure out. So it's easy for me to go because there's Big Brother Sean, there's Little Brother Sean, but then they both have, you know, wives. And so those are Big Brother Sean, sister-in-law Sharon. Or I could just cut out her name. She has gifted me before like an onion marmalade, so it's like very definitely the tang and like the like it tastes like it's been like soured a bit. And she was describing it in the same like breath that she was describing her. She's made kimchi before, and she's made her own sauerkraut because she's getting into this world as well. So she's into sourdough.
I bet it's fermented. Yeah.
Okay, and by the way, just plug for it. It's really good.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
It's very good. It's more of a savory, like you would take it in a savory direction typically. It's not salty necessarily, but like you would have it over. We had it in Italy when we were together over like an egg souffle. So like an egg and a really sharp fermented, I just learned, cheese, maybe like a sharp Parmesan or something that has like a higher salt content. Yep. And then the onion marmalade on top of that. And it's just this like hit of like, woo! It tastes not vinegar, but like that kind of smacks you around a little bit kind of flavor of onion marmalade. It's really yummy.
Yeah. No, that sounds delicious. Yeah. Pickled and fermented are different because pickled is just when you add vinegar to stuff. So you're not getting the live cultures. Like the magic of fermentation is in these cultures and probiotics that are eating and digesting part of the food in there so that so our body can process it different, like bitter. So truly 70% of our body's energy every day is spent digesting our food.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Yeah. So when you have fermented foods, essentially, like to just give it like a kind of off the wall number, fermented foods are already like 40% pre-digested by these bugs because there's bugs in our gut and that's how our food is broken down. Okay, that's just like how our digestive system works. So when you're eating fermented
that's news to me, but go on.
So let's say there's 10 steps to digesting food totally, 1 through 10. When you eat fermented food, instead of starting at step number 1, you're starting at step number 4 or 6. And so your body's like, okay, cool. So we jump in at step number 6 instead of step number 1. And so your body just takes less time to digest, and it's gentler. It's gentler on your bloodstream. It's gentler on your gut. And then you're also adding in those personal trainers, those cheerleaders, your best friend, into your gut and saying, like, you guys are doing so good. Keep it up. And so then you just keep doing that over and over again, and you're doing different things. And literally each fermented food has its own, like I said, clothing line. So kombucha has its own, yogurt has its own, cheese has its own, kimchi, all this stuff. So the better and bigger the variety is, the better you're like, and you know, it's just kind of seems, and it seems accurate, like so much of our immune system is tied to our gut. And so like the better your gut can be, just like the better you are off. It's just like a really great starting point for all these other issues to be avoided or to tackle easier or better or whatever. And so, yeah, like most cultures, like you were saying in Italy, have something fermented with every single meal, and that's just like standard. So Asian cultures almost always, and all you need is like a forkful or two of fermented food. Like it's not like you need a heaping plate. So like literally, it doesn't really matter.
It would be too strong anyway, right? Because those flavor profiles tend to be very like, woo, hello.
They are,
so it typically complements or it highlights other aspects of your balanced meal, I guess. So that makes sense too, so just from like a cooking standpoint.
A small serving of kimchi or a small thing of olives, or Middle Eastern have bowls of olives out for every meal. Eastern Europeans have sauerkraut and multiple varieties of sauerkraut just out for garnish on your plates. So it's just kind of common knowledge, and truly the only way to make things last is fermentation. So up until, like I said, previously 100 years ago, not even, refrigeration was not an option. So you have an animal that's producing dairy, you're turning it into cheese, you're turning it into yogurt, you're turning it into kefir, because it's gonna go bad, but if it just sits out. But if you introduce these good bacteria to them, then they do something about it. Where did they come from originally? I don't know. I wasn't there, but I don't know how people figured that out from the jump. I don't know. But I mean, the Israelites, like sourdough bread was just bread. That was what we had. So,
right.
I haven't even really touched on sourdough technically, but,
I have questions and then I want to hear about sourdough.
Okay, great.
Okay. So also you're doing a great job.
Well, I did teach a class too, so I feel like I'm trying to not blast.
No, you're doing a great job. I'm just like, this is so interesting. It's just a little check in there. Okay. Does the fermentation process, and you said it's kind of like, by the time you're eating it, so lots of the legwork has already been done. So then your body and your little cheerleaders can, cheer and continue on with their lives. So that's happening. But then I'm wondering, so animals and things. So obviously we keep the clean and unclean meat laws. So like a cow, obviously we can eat because it has cloven hooves and it chews its own cud. Do you think there's any correlation or like connection to like the digestive process that the cow does? Do you know what I mean? I don't know literally anything about livestock. Do you know what I mean? Oh, I thought they had 4 or something insane. But maybe not 4. 4.
2. Yeah, I don't know.
Now I'm really questioning. But I know that they chew their own cud because that's one of the 2, it's very easy. It's just 2 things, like scales and fins for fish. So anyway, I was just wondering that because obviously like a pig, for instance, does not have that biological process. So it's all the nasty stuff that they're eating is just like a part of what you're eating then when people eat, you know what I mean? And so I just wondered if it was like, I don't know, if there's any kind of connection to that or if you have any idea, because I know nothing about, as you know,
I don't
animals.
really have super knowledge on that front, but I will say, like, as we're talking about the biblical food laws, like the reason that I got into and latched on so hard to the way, because it was 2020 and it was like, everyone's doing sourdough, and it was like, okay, I'll do sourdough.
Very
and then
trendy.
I learned what it did for our bodies, and I've continually have been on this journey of like, we are created beings by the most amazing and intricate creator there is. And anything that I can do to honor that creation and the way he intended things to be done and the way he intended our bodies to process things, I'm like, yes, if it means extra steps, like, yes, I'm here for it. So it's just kind of been this avalanche of, it started with sourdough because I was like, it's gentler on your body and it makes the minerals and vitamins in the flour and the grain more absorbable to your body. And it was like, wow, that's cool. And then it just like continued into this thing. So absolutely, I don't know what the science is behind why beef with their however many stomachs and chewing their cud, what that means, but obviously it was done with a purpose and God made it very clear to us that that's what he wants from us. But I don't know the like exact reason why, but it'd be
something interesting to look up.
It would. I know. I really
study a bit. I'm like,
my brains are.
But I've always heard that that it was a part of the digestive process or something, and it totally makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Especially again with some of the toxins and different gross things that are weeded out through that process for a cow, but it just isn't the same process for a pig, which is, I mean, God can do whatever he wants, right? You know, it can say, you can eat this, you cannot do that. But it does seem to be a part of that active, I created this for this specific purpose. I created this for this specific purpose. Like, this is food, this is not. You should listen because I'm God, but also, like, there's some nasty stuff going on in that pig, in my opinion. But I was just curious about that. Yeah, okay, so your entryway and... Yeah, are you like, ooh, like,
yeah, I'm like, oh, we gotta go research when we're done.
Yeah, you're like, so long, husband Sean. So, good luck in the storm tonight. Okay, so your entry point into all of this, you said, was 2020.
It's sourdough, yeah.
You were following maybe a trend, but then also you learned its connections to really Israel and different things. So, take me through sourdough, because I feel like that's its own thing, and I don't even have a smart enough question besides just the sentence, take me through sourdough.
Take me through sourdough.
I don't know anything.
So, first of all, shout out to my precious dad, who in April of 2020 emailed me and my 3 sister-in-laws, Sharon's, and said he wanted to pay for us all to take this class, an online class, on a sourdough tutorial. It was like a 2-week long challenge. You know, once again, April. We're 1 month into COVID.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And he was like, I saw this, and I thought maybe my ladies would like this. So he paid for all of us to do this group class together online. It was so sweet. And it was 2
really
weeks
cool.
every day. You did a check-in, and there was a video, and then you literally started your own sourdough starter, which I'll explain what that is. And then the second half of that challenge was you're actually making recipes, and then there's a group, and you're posting pictures, and all this stuff. So my dad got me started, and my sister-in-laws all at the same time got us started on this. So shout out to my dad. So sweet.
Yeah.
Sourdough is just wheat and water, which is so cool to me that bread can be made from flour and water and usually salt. Yeah. But there is wild or natural yeast in both wheat grains and also our air, which is cool. And so when you put flour with water and you stir it up and you add some air into it, essentially you give it a vigorous stir. Eventually, as it sits in a nice warm environment and you continue to add flour and water and you quote unquote feed it, the natural yeast will eat, the bacteria will start to eat the yeast, and then those little bacteria bugs will burp up bubbles, i.e. carbon dioxide, and then also the second byproduct of this process is ethanol, i.e. it's alcohol, and you get a sour flavor. So that is what sourdough is. It's literally just flour and water. And typically people you either start a starter on your own where you feed it flour and water, and it's kind of tedious for 2 weeks. But eventually, it's crazy. You'll have a flat pancake of just batter in a jar. And eventually you'll start to see some bubbles and then more bubbles. And then eventually my hands are growing. But it rises in a jar. And you literally create a colony because the bacteria grows on itself. And then every time you add in flour and there's air, there's yeast being added into it, and so then they grow and they grow and they grow, and they continue to have the byproduct of carbon dioxide and ethanol, and so you have a sour flavor and you have carbon dioxide bubbles which make it rise. So that is what sourdough is. So when you make sourdough bread, at its core, it's flour, water, and salt. If you've ever heard of an artisan loaf or a boule or things like that, traditional sourdough, truly the ingredients are flour, water, salt. That's it. And time. It just takes time. But, and then, of course, now there's 1,000 recipes, and, a sandwich loaf of bread usually has some sort of oil to keep it soft, like either olive oil or avocado or beef tallow or butter. And milk. You can add milk, honey. You can make it sweet. But the natural yeast is what does the job. So there's no baking powder. There's no yeast packet. There's no baking soda. And it just
an active yeast little pack is ramping up that.
It's commercial yeast. It's made commercially. Right. It is not naturally found.
Okay, so it's not in the world. They've created it.
Yep.
Okay. So when that happens, it's meant to speed up the process and it's meant to make lives easier, I imagine, right?
Yes, yeah.
But in doing so, what does that... I feel a butt coming, you know what I mean? I feel like there's a cost.
Yes.
So what's the cost to that? Yeah.
So a lot of people, especially now, say they have gluten sensitivities. And, of course, if you are celiac, you have an actual allergy to wheat. So none of this applies if you are celiac. But if you have a gluten sensitivity, what most people are sensitive in their bodies to when they have a gluten sensitivity is the byproduct of gluten, which is called phytic acid.
Okay.
And when food is long fermented in a sourdough process, phytic acid is pre-digested. Once again, think of it, instead of step 1, we're going into step 4, step 6.
Got it.
And most of the phytic acid is gone. Ooh. Did you just hear that thunder?
I did.
Oh, you did? That was a big
I
one.
did.
There's a thunderstorm happening. Hey-o.
I mentioned the storm earlier in jest, and now I'm like...
Oh, no, you did it. You done gone on it, girl.
I know.
But
so me.
The phytic acid is usually what causes an inflammation response in the body. So with sourdough, long fermented sourdough does not have nearly the amount of phytic acid that most bread products do. Now, when you introduce commercial yeast, even if you introduce commercial yeast to a sourdough product, the second that is introduced into the mixture, the bacteria of the sourdough dies. And so the phytic acid fighting ability goes out with it. So that's just kind of the major difference.
So it's its own different thing then at that point? You know what I mean?
So when you're taking a packet of yeast and you're making your own bread, it's delicious.
Which I did yesterday.
And it's great. I'm here to tell you, it's so soft and delicious. But you're getting the full power of the phytic acid and the gluten, and then your body is receiving that as glucose. It's
breaking it down. It's trying its best, but we're starting at stage 1.
Yeah, you're starting at stage 1, and pretty much your body just reads white flour as glucose, which is just sugar.
So that's why. So when we think of the demonization of bread. Right? The villainized kind of look at that.
Totally.
There might be elements to that are really, it's like there is truth to that maybe. But
just like
it's because it's going to turn into sugars into your body, and then a lot of that is difficult to keep up with.
Yes, if there's no protein or other things for your body to process at the same time to keep it. Basically, you want to think of when you eat something as your body is like a car on a road. And you want your car to go flat and straight at the same mile per hour. But if you have something like a simple carbohydrate and you are not also having some fiber from a vegetable or a fruit and also protein, your car is going to rev up to 100 mile an hour and then just sputter out. But what's going to keep it at that straight 40 mile an hour on the flat road is your body's also working hard to process the protein and the plant fiber and maybe some fat, and it keeps it level. So when you just have a piece of bread with butter, like your body's like zoom, and it just like comes up and then it crashes down because what goes up must come down. But if you had, some good protein with that, and then it was also sourdough bread, and so already half of those sugars have been broken down for you. So instead of a slice of bread, say having, I'm just making this up, 40 grams of glucose, you're going in and it has 20 grams of glucose, and you're also having egg and turkey bacon with it, then your body has just a much calmer, more neutral reaction to it instead of just like skyrocketing and then plummeting. So already you're coming into the game with a lower reaction with your body, and then if you would pair it with a protein and a plant fiber, then that's what helps keep your body just like on a steady level flat line instead of, this huge spike and then crash. And then because your body is not working as hard to digest that bread, it also has more opportunity to absorb the minerals and vitamins that are in wheat. And then especially if you go even deeper and you have freshly grained or freshly milled bread, which is what I'm currently doing, where you grind wheat into a flour and then you bake with it immediately. Because the flour sold in stores is heated to a very high temperature, which basically makes the flour dead, but also then you don't have bugs and things in it, which is what was the problem with having flour on the shelf. You let it sit for too long, it'll go rancid because there's also oil in the wheat kernels. So, you know, if they were to mill it and then it sits on a counter, it can go rancid and bugs can get into it, all this stuff. So they created a system where they heat it really high and it essentially makes it dead. And then it can sit on the shelf for years. But so sourdough just in and of itself is just gentler on the body.
Okay.
It makes nutrients and minerals more bioavailable for your body because you're already coming in 4 steps into the game or whatever the number is.
Right.
Also, you know, I'm not a professional at this necessarily, so this is all just research that I've absorbed on my own, but it does really feel like, you know, our creator gave us a way for the food from the field that he blessed us with to bless our body in the best way possible. And so that's just what I try to strive to do for my family. And then I also sell it out of my home to customers and things like that. But, you know, I loved baked goods as aforementioned, but it's like, if I could have a bagel where my body doesn't freak out because it just had this massive sugar dump, and instead it can have more fiber because I'm using a whole grain flour, and I can come in 4 steps ahead of the game, and then I'm also pairing it with a good protein and things like that, then yeah, that's how I want to serve my body. That's how I want to serve my children's bodies, my husband's body, customers, things like that. Like, so it just kind of became a passion point from that standpoint. But every once in a while, I make a bread with commercial yeast, and it's so soft and delicious. I'm not a psychopath.
Oh, yeah.
I can recognize it's delicious, but sourdough is also delicious. It's just a little more hearty.
Yeah.
But also,
and it is a specific taste too, right? So I've heard,
yes,
as far as,
like, you know, you can add honey. You can, so like the sandwich loaf usually is sweetened a bit with either sugar or honey, and it has an oil or a milk in it, and it makes it soft and sweet. Yeah. But yeah, truly it is a little, you know, or like we have pancakes, waffles, cinnamon rolls, brownies, banana bread.
Right.
Those are all things I make with sourdough, and
right. And
delicious.
sister-in-law Sharon does that as well.
Yes.
I think for me, I definitely, this is so interesting. I have so much to process, but I definitely, and my last question for you is about this sort of, there's a bit of that taste that I just don't want all the time. And I don't know if it'll be like a Greek yogurt situation where now I kind of prefer that, or if it will, you know what I mean? Or if it's like, I don't know. Because I love the idea of like French cuisine or something like that. So like French bread is its own thing. Totally. And I will say, like, you know, going to Italy or something like that, like the way that they make pasta and all that stuff is like people that have gluten allergies, quote unquote, in the States, they go to Italy and then they don't typically have that.
It's a different
you know?
wheat. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a different
and
wheat
so,
completely.
so that's a good point. So you have
it's the
double
Italian
zero,
heritage. Yeah.
Semolia or whatever what is that called? You know what I'm talking about?
Semolina. Yeah.
Semolina flour. That's what I made. Now I did the instant yeast though with it, but that's what I did with my pizza dough. Was with the double zero. And it was very good. But that's so interesting. So my last question for you is, what hang-ups do you think people, and I don't mean it, hopefully that doesn't sound, I mean, it is a negative question, but you know what I mean? Like, what might be a barrier of entrance? Is that what you called it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so I taught a bunch of high schoolers about fermentation. So I had a few, you know, scrunchy up faces and things like that, but it was just like, if you guys will give it a try, and then like, you don't ever have to do this again if you don't want to. Yeah, it's tangy. I mean, I didn't even start eating sauerkraut or kimchi till like a year and a half ago, when I literally realized how much it helps your body, and that they were just different strains that I was not getting, and that also plant fiber is so necessary for your body, and I wasn't doing the best about my intake for vegetables and fruit and things like that. So it was like, okay, I can suck it up and I can do this thing. And now I love the taste, but it absolutely is a Greek yogurt sensation. You just have to get used to it. Your taste buds can and will change. It's wild. But the tangy taste. Also, I'm, once again, not a psychopath. I recognize that milk sitting out for 24 hours sounds horrendous. Why would anyone eat that when you say it like that? So there is that, like, if I think for me, when I knew the why and I knew the how, then it was a yes. But if I just knew what it was and like, ugh, what? No. Or literally kombucha. I thought kombucha
which
was
is
fermented
trendy
mushrooms.
now.
Yeah. But
Okay.
my dad wanted to make kombucha a couple years ago, and for some reason I thought it was like the mushroom coffee or something, because that was also getting trendy at that same time, and I was like, ew, a fermented mushroom drink with fruit juice? What? And then I got educated, and I was like, oh, it's just black tea. Okay.
Well, and as you know, I thought it had tiny creatures from space in it before I tried it.
Sure.
It might actually, but it's very good. Yeah.
I think this is a challenging episode for you because you're just going to have a lot of mental battle moving forward here.
I know. But you explained it so well, and I feel like
a 5th grader.
That's how I want everything explained. Yeah. Why are we not explaining more things like that? I want clear expectations. I want my questions answered and not put down or belittled. That's what a 5th grader wants. We all want the same thing. Because they're just people. We're just people. Again, lactose being sugar is absolutely wild to me. I'm still not going to... Yeah, it's going to take me a little bit. Yeah. I think it might be worthy of our time, and by ours I mean mine, to create a little like infographic of like fermented foods at the list. I think that would be fun. Yeah. You know what I mean? Of like a little thing of like, hey, here are common ones. It's kind of interesting.
If you're feeling wild, you can try this or that. And truly now, now it seems like even in my little grocery store, like you can get real kimchi and real sauerkraut and real pickles. All right in the refrigerated section. Like, it's a lot of people are like not recognizing the science because it's been around truly since the beginning of time. Fermented foods have been around. So, but the science behind, there's a huge focus on the gut right now, just like in the general health field. And
totally
over and over, whatever platform you are listening to, the people, like, it's like fermented food. Like, that is the way you can also heal your gut. Like, people now have what's called SIBO, or they have leaky gut, literally because the food, quote-unquote food that we eat is not really food anymore. So, like, soda and things like that, they literally they eat away our intestines until we have a hole that leaks into our body. That's awful. And you can heal those with...
I thought you were going to say, you can hear them. I'm like, you can hear them eating your insides? And then I was like, that is science fiction.
That is science fiction. But yeah, you can heal it with bone broth and fermented foods and things like that. Because also we were a society who ate animals, nose to tail, so to speak. You wouldn't waste a part of an animal.
Sure.
We don't do that anymore. We are a skinless, boneless society. And we are lacking in natural forms of gelatin and natural forms of collagen and organs and stuff like that.
I know, I'm like, oh, but I even think about like, obviously like a chicken thigh just tastes better than a chicken breast, right? Also, chicken breast is like really difficult in the cooking world to do well. Like, do you know, because it tends to go dry really quickly. It's actually a very complex thing, and it's one of the most common meats that anyone cooks with. But it's actually really difficult to do. But I definitely, like when I think of chicken thighs and things like that, my brain goes, fat is bad. So like, I constantly am cutting off every little piece of fat, even though that's a lot of flavor and it's whatever else. And it's actually like, there are some fats that are okay for you to, do you know what I mean? But my brain still has to come back from that. And it wasn't necessarily, I don't even think that was a mom and dad thing. I think it was just like, fat is bad, society or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It was just like, totally. And then now you think about any meat that's cooked from a, chef or whatever is like, keep this on it. This is really good. You know what I mean? It's like for flavor again. Oh, totally. Sorry. And, things like that. But, so many of these things I think are coming together. And I think we could all stand to, try to eat a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, or whatever way, but not in a way that is shameful or whatever. Like, totally. You know what I mean? Or makes us feel like...
Like, we also had Taco Bell, and it was the best. So, like,
I had Taco Bell last night.
But like, I try to live 80-20, and I am not a model or the spokesperson, or this is just a passion point for me. We happen to have a podcast, so I'm able to do this, and I was able to share it with some kids from our co-op and stuff like that. But like, 80-20 for sure.
Yeah.
When I know I can substitute, I will, but also a hot nacho fry from Taco Bell. Ugh.
We just had that in your car.
So good.
In so Savannah. Good. Yeah. I think something I'm going to take from this is just baby steps, like trying some new things. And then also, like you said, variety is key, you know, just like with anything else. Like with working out, too, right? Doing the same thing every single day is, like, not actually the best thing. Like, my brother-in-law, Sean, is, you know, a PE teacher, and so he talks about, like, no, you need to, like, engage multiple different muscles, like, change it up a bit every day to access these different muscles and things, and, you know, have a love of movement and those things. And, of course, he would add in, and lots of discipline. But, I'm going to try to,
Truly,
okay.
Kimchi was something I turned my nose up at forever.
Oh,
and
really?
Finally, I got cool with having sauerkraut on a hot dog. And it was like, okay, if I can handle sauerkraut on a hot dog, I can handle it on its own. And I literally would dip my fork in and just enough to stick to the edge of the fork, and I would eat that. And then I was able to do, like, a healthy forkful. And then now I can put, like, a whole haystack of sauerkraut on my plate. And literally the same thing happened with kimchi. It was like, one forkful on top of a fried egg, I can do this. And then it became more and more. And now I'm like, I can't wait to have it every morning, you know, when we have eggs. But it's small. And the same thing with kombucha. If it's not your favorite, try a different flavor, try a different brand. If you know someone who makes it, this is not a humble brag. It's just an antidote. A lot of people who said they don't like kombucha when they tried my homemade kombucha were like, oh, yours is really good. And, like, we did taste test.
That's what I was going to say.
Like, okay, this is... So switch it out,
I would say,
different, you know.
If you have the means and the ability to find a different, like, I'm thinking like Korean barbecue, that kind of thing. If you know of a place that gets really good reviews and it might have kimchi or something that's going to be a side of that, try it done very well. Do you know what I mean? Like, seek out opportunities where it's done well. So then it's like you might not be able to recreate that entire dish, but you might be able to recreate rice and something sweet glaze in general, right? You know, soy sweet glaze plus this, plus you're kind of mapping out. Take a picture of it, you know, Instagram it. Of course. If you didn't gram it, it didn't happen either. But see what veggies and stuff they paired and see if you could do something like that and with the store-bought kimchi. And I feel like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like see where it's done really well as well, because then try, if you can, to introduce yourself to it in the most, I would say, like, quote-unquote, authentic way possible. Like you said, miso soup is fermented, so, you know, obviously, you can try to make it at home, too. That's great, but also, like, if you're like, I'm not sure if I'm going to like that, try it from someone who's been doing it for years and years. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, that might be another entrance point.
No, that's such a great practical suggestion. I think that's really well.
Well, Amanda, I have learned genuinely so much. And I always knew you were, like, really smart in so many different ways. But, like, you know, emotionally very intelligent and a good friend and all of that stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Eye roll. Ew. But you're so smart in, like, in this way. This is so cool. And I knew that about you because obviously you, like, have a bakery. But I'm I'm just like, what? Anyway, so I'm a little, like, overwhelmed with just how awesome and knowledgeable you were. I didn't think you'd be... I don't know what I thought. I just am, like, shook a little bit at just how much I learned in an hour and a half.
It's a hard compliment to take, but I appreciate it. And I will say, you know, when you read the scriptures, like, oh, we all have gifts. We're all given spiritual gifts. We're all given... And you're like, how am I going to know? There's something that clicked in when I just figured out how and why and what our food does for our body. That just, like... Everything I face, I'm like, I can do that, and I can do that at home, and I want to know why and how. And so it just kind of built on itself in a way where I don't have to force myself to learn this stuff. Like, my brain was just like, wanted to absorb all of it. In a similar way where I feel like when you talk about art, I'm just going to be like astounded, because I'm like, my brain doesn't necessarily work that way for that subject, but it was like one of those things which, once again, it didn't click until I was almost 30 of like, oh wow, I am passionate about something, and like I feel like it comes naturally to me and I like it and I'm kind of good at it or whatever, you know. I
think that's the best. And another just plug for people is just like, dip your toe in different things like this. If you think it's interesting, like, see if it could be a passion for you. Because I feel like as an artist, I'm constantly so, like, romantic and think that everyone has these deep feeling emotions or passions about specific things. And, like, nope. You know what I mean? Like, people just tend to go, like, I don't know. I don't really know anything. It has to work with kids and stuff too. You know, obviously you're figuring that out. If you're a child, but I haven't know a lot of adults that are like, I don't know if I could possibly blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, I think it's out there. It might just be a matter of like, getting more barriers to that thing or whatever it is. But I think it's so cool to see, and I'm so attracted to, I think, people that have found. I hate to say your thing because I don't want to limit people to be like, well, I'm good at this, so this is my box. It's like, no, like you might surprise. You might be surprised.
Something that makes you feel alive, like just something where you're like, oh, I lit up when I talked about that, and that means something. Yeah.
Oh, it's the absolute best thing in the world, and I think just shout out to teachers. Just throwing it out there, not even to myself, but teachers in general. Like, our job is to ignite that within kids. You know, like, because it's the absolute best when you see it go, oh, and then when you see the other kids look at it and go, like, you're so good at that. And they're like, I know. And they're just as shocked. Like, it's so cool. And I remember that happening for me from really good teachers. So now my, like, role in life, in part, is, like, to try to unlock that for as many people as possible. So if you see me on the street, adult listeners, I'm going to try to do that to you, too. And I'm so sorry, but that's just who I am.
I want to take your drawing intro at that nonprofit, but
yes.
Like, I put myself in the box of, like, I'm not good at that.
I know. People think they can't draw. It's so, I hate to say silly, but it is.
But
yeah, but it's so, I'm like, you can, but it's, here we are. Yeah. Well, Amanda, at risk of just making the storm and whatever else, I think we're sitting on some gold here.
I think so. It might be a wild
you worked
edit,
so hard. It might be a wild edit, y'all. It might be a wild edit. But, Amanda, I love you.
I love you. This was great. Thanks for letting me take up the space.
Absolutely. You deserve to take up space.
I love you.
And so do I. Okay, I love you too. Okay. The I'm Not Mad About It podcast was written and produced entirely by Amy and Amanda. Our sponsorship is completely vacant at the moment, but if you know anyone that loves a good hang, a good time, and a podcast about friendship, let us know. Thank you, dear sweet listeners. See you next time.